Something shifted inside you this Friday. You might not have the exact words for it yet, but the feeling is undeniable. An old weight seems to have lifted, and a quiet, almost unsettling clarity has started filling the space where confusion used to live. You didn't end up here by accident. This meeting right now is the confirmation of a transition you've sensed for a long time, but that has now finally taken on real shape. I came here to tell you what happened, to name what you've been carrying in silence, and to prepare you for what this new era is about to open up in front of you. For the time we spend together, you're going to recognize the 5 clear signs that have been showing up in your life and understand what they mean on a larger scale. You're going to grasp the pattern that was blocking your harvest, that old mechanism of effort that starting today loses its validity. And before this moment ends, I'll bring a declaration that will seal your understanding of this new chapter, because I firmly believe that the reason this message reached you today is precisely to mark your official entry into a new season. You've been feeling an exhaustion that doesn't come from physical work, but from an invisible burden. You've noticed that conversations that used to make sense now feel hollow, as if you're speaking a language no one around you understands. You've been waking up at specific times, with a frequency that defies coincidence, and you've seen sequences of numbers that seem to whisper a message still on the tip of your tongue. You feel like you're living in 2 worlds, one that demands the same frantic pace as always, and another that asks you, with a gentle insistence, to stop and observe. Many would call this a crisis or burnout, but I'm telling you this is calibration. What you're feeling isn't a lack of energy, it's your internal system adjusting to a higher frequency. The isolation you've been experiencing isn't loneliness, it's preparation. The universe is clearing the ground around you because what's coming for you in this new era is too big to be carried with the debris of the past. What you lost or what drifted away wasn't a mistake. It was the necessary emptying so that the new, the true, and the destined could finally find room. The act of typing those 3 numbers is your way of saying yes to what is being aligned in your life right now. It's your first conscious agreement with this new cycle, a small seal you place over your own understanding. Type 888 and then come right back to me. What you've been living through, that relentless attempt to force doors open, to seek answers where the source has run dry, has a clear root. You've operated for years under the belief that your harvest depended solely on your strength, your insistence, and your sweat. But what no one told you, and what you're beginning to realize now, is that human effort has a limit, while the provision that arrives with this new era knows no boundaries. You've been trying to climb a mountain that wasn't yours, carrying tools that no longer fit the terrain you're crossing now. The failure, if we can call it that, wasn't your lack of dedication. It was your insistence on sowing in a field that was already exhausted. You got so used to surviving that you forgot how to simply thrive. There's a vast difference between the effort that wears you down and the readiness that receives. Until now, you were the laborer building the house, but in this new era, you're invited to be the owner who enjoys the dwelling. This transition is subtle, but it changes everything. Picture now a large orchard, where the trees grew wild through many winters. Some of those trees are loaded with dry branches that take up space, block the light, and drain the sap that should go to the fruit. This season you've been going through, this feeling of pruning, this painful cutting away of people, habits, and even expectations, is the great cut. It's the necessary preparation so that the harvest of this era will be abundant. Pruning doesn't happen to destroy the tree, it happens to save its essence. Without that cut, you would keep growing sideways instead of growing upward toward the light this era promises. Let that recognition seal the place where this truth just touched you. By typing those 3 words, you make a commitment to your own awakening, turning what was an intuition into a declared reality. Type "I am ready," and then come right back to me. Maybe you've spent years feeling like you needed to explain yourself, to justify yourself, or to prove your worth to those who had no eyes to see your journey. That ends today. In this new era, you don't need permission to be who you were called to be. The validation you sought so much on the outside was only a reflection of what you hadn't yet validated inside yourself. Let your like now be your wordless amen. It's not about metrics or numbers. It's about a gesture of spiritual agreement, a silent way of confirming that the message delivered here found its rightful destination within you. The solution for your life from here on doesn't lie in new strategies, more effort, or a frantic search for control. The solution is the return. It's the return to your own essence, to that voice you silenced to survive, to the rhythm you abandoned to fit in. You don't need to build this new season, you only need to be available for it. It's a shift in posture, from the one who chases after everything to the one who becomes a magnet, attracting what already belongs to you by right of lineage and purpose. There's someone in your life who needs to hear exactly this, someone who has been facing the same dilemmas as you and who has also felt this silent call. Maybe it's a person you notice exhausted from carrying the world on their shoulders, someone who has been searching for meaning they can't find in the obvious, or someone who holds wisdom that hasn't yet been recognized. That person's face just came to your mind as I spoke, didn't it? That person was placed in your path so that you could be the messenger. Send this content to them. Don't do it as casual advice. Do it as an act of delivery, as if you were passing a torch of light to someone who, like you, is ready to cross the portal. Before we wrap up, this is the moment of your definitive seal. Don't write them as a wish or a vague hope, but as a decree of who you are. What started as a simple listening session this Friday has turned into a milestone. The agreement formed between your spirit and the clarity of this moment is what will sustain you in the coming days. Type slowly, feel the weight of each letter, and let your own finger confirm what your soul has already accepted. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. What opens before you now is not an ordinary path. It's a prepared road. You are no longer operating by your own strength. You are operating in alignment with the new era that begins today. Walk with the certainty of one who has been seen, who has been heard, and who has been called. The failure you've been carrying, the reason so many doors remain stubbornly closed, is not a matter of lack of preparation or worthiness. It's a matter of mechanics. You've been trying to harvest what wasn't yet ripe because you insisted on cultivating the field with the tools of a season that has already passed. The diagnosis is clear. You've been operating on the strength of your own arm, believing that if you didn't push life, if you didn't fight every current, nothing would happen. You turned your journey into a battle when in truth, your mission was always to be a channel. The frantic effort you've put in lately is actually resistance to what needs to be harvested. You confused action with control, and that confusion drained the vitality that should have been used to receive the new era now presenting itself. To understand why everything became so heavy, you need to visualize the great cut. Think of a centuries-old tree that grew unchecked, with branches intertwining in directions that lead nowhere, consuming the sap that should go to the fruit. The great cut is not a punishment for the tree. It's the only way for it to survive its own greatness. What you experienced recently, the losses, the distances, the doors that didn't open, the feeling of emptiness, was that cut. It was the removal of what was no longer essential, the pruning of what only took up space and prevented light from reaching your center. The gardener doesn't cut out of hatred. He cuts so that the new, the vital, can finally bloom. You are not dying. You are being prepared for a harvest that requires a cleaner trunk, a more aligned structure. This process is painful only if you try to hold on to the branches that need to fall. If you let go, if you accept that the cut is the prelude to abundance, the pain disappears and gives way to clarity. Let the recognition of this new era settle where it needs to, at the center of your consciousness. The act of typing these 3 words is your commitment to stop fighting the pruning and start preparing the ground for the new season. Type now, and right after, turn your full attention back to me. As you process this surrender, notice your gesture of recognition not as a metric or a number, but as a wordless amen. When you mark this message with your appreciation, you're not chasing an algorithm. You're sealing a spiritual agreement. It's a gesture that says, I recognize that what was named here is the truth of my moment. It's a silent thank you for the clarity, a validation of what your soul already knew, but that your mind was still trying to process with fear. The solution, therefore, is not a new strategy of effort. It's not working more hours or planning with more anxiety. The solution is total surrender. It's moving from the position of someone who has to carry the world on their shoulders to the position of someone who becomes a receiver. Imagine you spent years trying to pull water from a well with a leaky bucket, tiring your arms and frustrating your spirit. The new era doesn't bring a bigger bucket. It brings the rain. Your only task now is to be available. It's learning to open your hands, to quiet your mind, and to observe the signs the universe is sending, signs that were once drowned out by the noise of your own insistence. When you stop fighting, you discover that the path you were looking for was already paved. You just couldn't see it because you were too busy looking at your own feet, worried about the next step of your exhaustion. The new era is an invitation to be, instead of to do. It's an invitation to inhabit the space that the Great Cut opened in you, filling it not with new tasks, but with the presence of what is true. You are leaving the era of survival to enter the era of harvest, and all that is required of you now is the courage to be who you really are, stripped of the armor the old season imposed on you. The calm you feel hearing this is not a coincidence. It's proof that you've already begun to shift your axis of rotation. You are no longer chasing life. You are allowing life, in its fullest and most abundant form, to find you in the place where you have finally chosen to rest. There are people in your life who need to hear exactly what was revealed here today. Think of those who, like you, have carried the weight of an expectation that no one else seems to understand. Reflect on that person who works hard day after day, night after night, but who feels, on a deep level, that the effort isn't being directed to the right place. You know someone who has that quality of being silently resilient, someone who keeps their head up even when the world around them seems to collapse, someone who carries a spark of hope in their eyes, but who, secretly, feels exhausted from not seeing the horizon change. That person's face just came to your mind, didn't it? It's someone who has a sharp sensitivity, who perceives nuances others ignore, and who right now desperately needs to know that the end of their waiting is near. Don't keep this to yourself. Send this message to that person, not as a casual suggestion, but as a delivery, a spiritual appointment you are fulfilling. It's a gesture of care, a way of ministering hope to someone who, silently, has been searching for an answer that only now begins to become audible. Take a deep breath, feel the importance of this moment, and before we move to the conclusion of this meeting, I need you to make a personal commitment. It's not a request for an opinion. It's a declaration of who you have become through this listening. Type now, without rushing, feeling each letter, recognizing that the truth of this affirmation doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on the clarity you've reached by understanding your role in the new era that is opening. When you write this, you mark your territory on this new frequency. You stop being someone who waits for permission and become someone who assumes their own nature. It's the confirmation that you are no longer operating from fear or lack, but from the authority granted to you by your own readiness. You are the fruit of this journey of detachment. You are the proof that the pruning wasn't to diminish you, but to prepare the soil of your soul for what is to come. You are the bearer of a new consciousness that no longer needs to prove its worth, because now you understand that your worth is the foundation of your existence. You are the example of the courage that accepted silence to hear the voice that matters. You are the initiator of this new cycle, the one who rose when all others still slept under the logic of scarcity. You are, above all, the protagonist of a story that has just found its definitive turning point. Stop. No matter where you are or what you're doing right now, stop. Something happened this Friday, a vibration, a subtle but profound shift in the fabric of your reality. You might not have the exact words to name it yet, but the feeling that the ground beneath your feet has changed is undeniable. I came here today only to name that change and confirm what your soul has already perceived. By the end of this conversation, you will recognize the signs that have been showing up in recent days. You will understand the nature of the exhaustion you carried as if it were a duty, and you will finally know why this moment, this particular Friday, marks the beginning of a new era in your personal journey. Stay with me, because the revelation I bring is the missing piece to complete the understanding of your own awakening. You've been feeling an exhaustion that sleep doesn't cure, haven't you? It's not a common physical tiredness. It's a weariness from trying to maintain structures that should have fallen long ago. You've noticed conversations that used to make sense now sound like hollow echoes of a past that no longer belongs to you. Maybe you've woken up repeatedly at 3:33 in the morning with a mental clarity bordering on discomfort, or you've seen repeating numbers, 888, appearing on receipts, license plates, or clocks, as if the universe were trying to get your attention for a specific frequency of abundance and completion. Typing those digits is your first act of agreement, the smallest seal that you accept what is being revealed. Type 888 and return to me immediately. The truth is, you've been operating under a logic of effort, believing that your faithfulness was measured by the amount of weight you carried on your back. You confused resistance with persistence. The failure, if we can call it that, was believing that to harvest, you needed to keep planting in soil that was already exhausted. You were trying to push a door that was, in fact, already open on the other side, and all your effort was, ironically, what kept you from walking through it. There's a vast difference between seeking and receiving, and you spent years in the first category when your destiny was always the second. Picture now, with me, what I call the Great Cut. Think of a fruit tree that grew unchecked, with dry branches and limbs that suck the sap without producing any fruit. For the next season to be a bountiful harvest, the gardener doesn't add more fertilizer to the dead branches. He cuts. He removes what weighs down, what is unproductive, and what prevents the circulation of light to the center of the canopy. What you've lived through in recent months wasn't abandonment or loss. It was your personal great cut. It was the necessary process so that your energy, which once scattered in 1,000 useless directions, could be concentrated on what truly matters. Let that recognition turn into a definitive mark on your own spiritual record. Type now and come straight back. What opens now, starting this Friday, is the era of reception. You no longer have to fight to prove you deserve the light that is beginning to enter. Your effort doesn't buy your new season, your readiness allows it. If what I've just described resonates with the truth you've held in your chest, let your gesture of liking this moment be your wordless amen. It's not about numbers or metrics. It's about the silent validation that what was spoken here found its correct landing place. It's your way of saying that the message was received, understood, and integrated into your story. The transition you're going through requires only that you let go of the rope. You spent so long holding the helm with wounded hands that you forgot the current is already taking the boat to the right place. It's not about inactivity, but about conscious activity, where you stop rowing against the tide and adjust the sails to the wind of the new era. It's a lesson in trust. It's the exercise of looking at the opportunities that arise not as something you need to conquer, but as something you need to be present to receive. You are being called to a new way of existing, where scarcity becomes an obsolete concept in the face of the vastness of new possibilities beginning to align. In this process, you certainly thought of someone. Maybe someone who has been working exhaustively without seeing results, someone who maintains a posture of strength in front of others, but who, in private, carries a silence heavy with questions. That person whose features came to your mind as I spoke about the great cut, that is the person who needs this transmission. Don't send it as advice, send it as a delivery. Be the vehicle of this confirmation, allowing the same clarity that is operating in you today to also touch the heart of someone who, like you, was waiting for the right signal to let go of the weight of the past. Before this time together comes to a close, I need you to place yourself in a position of absolute truth before yourself. It's not about what you desire, it's about what you already are. The transition you're experiencing isn't an external event. It's an internal tuning. Type the words "I am the chosen one" in the comments below. Don't type them as a request, but as a decree. Let those 4 words serve as the final mark that your identity is no longer defined by your past, but by the readiness you've shown today. Every time a hand types this declaration, the collective consciousness grows stronger, creating a field of invisible yet unbreakable support for everyone walking this same crossing. You are committed to the truth now pulsing toward you. You are commissioned to walk into this new era with the clarity of someone who has finally understood their role. You are sent to be the point of light in your own environment, acting not through force, but through steady presence. At this very moment, in every corner of the world, others are stopping, breathing, and feeling this same vibration of change. You are not making this transition in isolation. You are part of a silent awakening that needs no fanfare to be real. What is happening to you is a restoration of lineage, a realignment of destiny that spreads like an invisible web of hope among those who, like you, knew how to wait for the right time. Your shift is the sign that the new era has already begun. It is sealed,